Good morning, or should I say good afternoon?
Today it's afternoon.
It is afternoon. Welcome to episode 9 of Radio Tiny House. I'm Barry Smith.
I'm Beth Smith.
Today's Tuesday, November 10th. We try to do this every Tuesday morning, but we had
Our plans were foiled.
a confunctionary thing. I don't know if that's a real word, but it sounds pretty good. Today, we had our littles this morning because their mom, our daughter, had to be on a conference call when we normally do our
Half day.
we
switch
podcast.
off.
So we flipped days today. So we got the littles this morning, which is always fun to have them. Our grandson has a fractured ankle, so he's a little hobbled right now.
He did that under our care.
Well, yes, but not under our direction. He was
Right.
not sure what he was doing. He was dancing around, or jumping around, I guess, and he hurt his knee.
Right.
And Beth put a Band-Aid on his knee, and then 5 minutes later, he whacked his ankle into the wooden base of our sofa and broke his ankle.
Yeah.
So today he goes to the orthopod, and maybe they'll cast it.
Maybe. We'll see.
It'd be fun because we could sign it then.
Exactly.
But he can't go to school to get it signed because they're being homeschooled right now.
Right.
So anyway, welcome today, no matter what time of day it is where we are or where you are. Whatever time of day it is, I'm happy to be here with Beth and her beautiful sparkly eyes.
I'm afraid you're making
No, I'm good.
weird
See, look,
noises.
I'm right where I want to be.
Okay.
So today we're going to talk about a few things we're going to talk about. First, we're going to talk about this today. Beth and I attended a virtual tiny house summit
I
meeting.
wrote it down. Where's the piece of
the
paper?
piece of paper is over here. I'm sorry.
This is
I was being
important stuff
efficient.
for me.
Tiny.
No, that's not it.
That's not it. So that's never mind. That's not the piece of paper.
All right.
Did you write it down on this paper? This is all we have left.
Oh, I thought I wrote it down. I
So,
wrote something else.
It was a Tiny House Global Summit. I think they may have
yeah, I
called
think
it. It
that
was
was what
Global
it's called.
something or another.
Yeah.
And
I
so
think it's a global tiny house summit.
yeah, we'll talk a little bit about that.
Yeah.
We're going to talk about a little bit about life after COVID.
Should we just start over?
No, we're not going to start over. This is live.
I think we should just start over.
If this was radio, we wouldn't be starting over. Life after COVID, not after COVID.
Right.
Completely different subject. The benefits of an ADU during a pandemic. Who benefits the most from that? How to make that happen if you've got a loved one that can't.
The secret here is what is an ADU, and we'll talk about that.
We'll talk about that. Or an ADU, which is goodbye, but not spelled the same way. We'll talk about our sponsor today, which is Rhapsody in Blooms. We have a new sponsor. It's not us. It's not Tuff Shed.
Right. Sadly.
Yeah. We've got some tiny house news we'll talk about, and we'll talk about Beth's workshop one more time. Well, probably several more times until it happens. And then we'll wrap it up. So I think that's our topics for today, unless you can think of something else off the top of your head.
Oh, well, there are lots of things on the top of my head. Who knows what we might talk about.
Listen, there are so many things in her head about everything. But
there are so many things in my head.
But she is an encyclopedia of everything that has to do with tiny houses, and maybe not everything, but much that has to do with tiny houses and shed homes. And
because I've been studying it forever.
Yeah, she has for a
long
few
time.
years. Well, until one day I'll say how many, and then you'll see me get slapped on YouTube.
You never will say how many.
Oh, so again, welcome to the Tiny House Summit. It's an interesting thing to watch.
A virtual summit.
A virtual summit, yeah, because it's just weird. Something that you should be there in person. It's just weird to watch it on a tiny. We watched it on our massive TV.
Right.
But it's still weird to see them in this confined space. Yeah.
Well, and I think the whole idea of this tiny house summit was that they wanted to kind of have it feel like a live event, but sadly, that's hard to pull that off and make it interesting and make it you're looking at video quality. There's all kinds of things, and movies take years to produce, and that's the level of video we're used to.
Right.
And we here at Radio Tiny House just do just a streaming video because we do want that feel of the radio show. Right.
Yeah, we want this just to be a recorded conversation that's fun and interesting between us.
But there are two of us, so we interact with each other.
We could put another person right here.
By the way, I'm decorating. I just want anybody to know I'm trying to decorate. Haven't gotten very far yet. But, I think it was really hard for the people that were the presenters to work in that environment because I think most of them weren't really TV types. Zach from Tiny House Nation was probably the most comfortable in the setting.
And I think he did a great job.
Pretty good job.
Although he was using the webcam on his camera.
Yeah, and
it's just
very good quality.
I haven't found one yet that's as good quality as a phone, which is what we're using, or a mirrorless or a DSLR camera, which we're getting ready to actually purchase to do some more this.
Yeah.
And a few more things that we're working on.
Well, I kept advocating because we want to go on the road to just use our phones, and because the quality is so good. But there's so many things you can't do with it, Zooms, and then you're loading up all your phone stuff. And so we're, back to not to get in that weed, but the thing about the virtual conference, I think if you're new to tiny homes, or just thinking about it, it might be worth the $25 to buy the thing. And that's what they're selling it for. Honestly, but that's, as much as I've seen it on Facebook, of course, Facebook knows I'm into tiny houses, so they show me this thing all the time. But they probably didn't make that much money because they were advertising all the time. And Facebook ads are expensive. They
are expensive. They didn't used to be, but they've gotten very expensive. Now, they did have a couple of sponsors. And the sponsors all got to speak, which was kind of nice. Because there were some interesting products out there that
kind of are exclusively
tiny homes, shed homes, but could be used in a larger house as well if you wanted to do that.
But they are very popular in the tiny home community, such as solar, such as what else was it? Heated
floors. That's a big thing right now.
That's something I'm working on. We talked about that last week. We're getting a rug buddy for our front of our
and heated
section.
Floors. Let me tell you a story about Beth and heated floors. We were in Norway. And our first night in Norway, we stayed at a wonderful Radisson SAS hotel.
And let's be clear, Norway in May is not warm.
No, it was not. They think it's warm.
I do not.
We froze our butts off.
Right.
But our first night there, maybe our first 2 nights there, we were in Oslo at the Radisson SAS. It's changed names now. I don't know what it is. And they had a heated floor in the bathroom that you could turn on or off.
Lay down on.
And that's what Beth did. She was chilly. I mean, it was cold. And she laid down on the floor and just kind of turned to this pool of Jell-O.
Right, which I don't know if I would lay on the floor during COVID now, but then it didn't seem so germy. I didn't care.
Right.
So I laid on the bathroom floor and got warm.
Got very warm.
It was awesome.
So lots of the places we stayed in Norway had heated floors, and I had never experienced that before either, and I think it's becoming more and more prevalent here and accepted here. Certainly not a way to heat your entire home, but it's certainly a great.
Well, if your home is 150 square feet,
that's
really
true. It might be reasonable. You might have really, really warm feet, but be freezing on your head.
Well, they have proven that if your feet are warm,
the rest of your body
will be warm. So that's it's pretty efficient actually to do it that way.
So that's pretty cool.
Floors. So that we went in a rabbit hole there.
We did go in a rabbit hole, but one of their sponsors was a heated floor company.
They had solar, heated floor, and something else I can't remember right now, which is not good for the global conference because I can't remember it. But it was interesting. I have kicked around the thoughts of doing a summit. Of course, I'm like trying to do YouTube stuff, and I'm trying to do Radio Tiny House and be a grandmother, and I work sometimes. I kind of work for freelancing stuff that I do. And, getting time to do it just seems kind of a little overwhelming. But I really feel like we need a shed virtual conference. Shed, a tiny home shed thing, whatever. And I think I'm called to it. So I'll have to try to figure out how to do it.
As far as I know, there's not been a shed to home summit.
Right. We had Bo I forget his last name, who has a big Shed to Home
right.
Facebook group, and I'm part of that. He did a really good job. But
he did do a good job, and he actually had a great picture.
Yeah.
His was the best.
His was probably one of the better.
Video quality.
Yeah. And so, but we watched it, and we skimmed through some of it because, obviously, this is a subject I feel like I know a lot about. But, if you're new to tiny homes and you want to try it out for $25, I'm sure Facebook will offer it to you. It's, up if you Google it, Global Tiny Home Conference, I think it is.
Right.
But, I would love to put one together for us at some point. That's not in this year. This is 2021.
I think I do think we should look at spring of next year.
I think we could do it.
March, April.
But yeah, but no.
But
yeah, but I don't not right now. We have to get through November and December and into January.
Right.
First.
Yes, we're not going to do that right now. That takes a ton of planning. One of the big things when you have that is that the host group, whoever that is, it doesn't matter whether it's tiny houses or surgical devices or whatever it may be, they are relying on their speakers for their video and their audio quality.
Oh, but contrary, you can do. I wouldn't rely on it that way.
No, there are things you can and should do
right.
to have requirements for internet speed, for microphones, for cameras. And if you're going to ever participate in one of these things, look, a webcam on your computer is fine for Zoom calls. If you're calling into work and you've got a conference you've got to do, but as a consumer, I expect when I pay for something that the video quality and the audio quality is going to be.
Of course, we're really
good.
Picky because
I am very picky.
Barry is a voice actor, and so he wants to make sure it sounds really well done.
Well, but also we've spent a lot of time recording stuff.
Exactly.
Beth is we were in a group together. Beth has a beautiful singing voice. She won't sing today, I don't think.
No,
maybe if we
although I was on
her.
a podcast 2 weeks ago that he made me sing.
Really?
Yeah. Barry doesn't even know. I know about it. But anyway, they tricked me. But
they tricked you into singing.
Into singing.
How does that work?
Well,
I've yet to be able to do that.
All right. I didn't know him. I didn't know how to say no. But
so we've spent time in studios.
Yes, lots.
I produced audio and video for various churches that we were members of, and I'm very picky about picture quality. And this is not great, but this is YouTube. I'm not concerned about that right now. But I'm a stickler for good audio, and we've had a couple of episodes where I was almost embarrassed about, our first episode, maybe our second episode.
Like, how would he embarrass you?
I was not really pleased with the audio quality, but since we've beefed up some things, we've gotten some new microphones. I love these Lewitt microphones, and Lewitt is not sponsoring us.
We'll make a call this week.
I will make a call this week. Yes, Lewitt. Hey, send us some more stuff to test.
Right.
But anyway, so the summit was interesting. If you're just starting out in the search for a tiny house or a shed home, you're starting to dream about it, it's a good resource. I don't know if the price is going to go up.
I don't know.
It
was $25 for 30 days of access,
yes.
And then I don't know after that. But
or even if it's still for sale right now. I'm assuming it is. But it's a good resource and some good information. Now, honestly, we didn't listen to all the speakers.
Right.
There were a couple that I started to listen to and just went, no, can't do it. Bad picture, bad audio.
Well, and that's hard because, when you're producing something like this, people are working from home, blah, and, we're all relying on whatever the internet can give us right now.
Yes.
But, last week in our Tiny Houses Shed Homes Facebook group, I go live every Sunday evening. I've started doing like a during the day and then do a watch party in the evening to try to help folks who have, sometimes we're doing tours of houses and you can't do that in the dark.
Right.
So we're doing kind of that, but usually Sunday night, 8 o'clock, something's going on in my Facebook group. Well, I had Scott and Rhonda, who I'd been trying to get in, and we had some conflicts and whatever. So finally we got together on Sunday, and the internet just failed us. It was the video was terrible.
Right.
The information was great, but the video was terrible. And I didn't want to take it down because it had taken us so long to get it to happen.
Right.
And they have an amazingly beautiful shed home that they've converted. It's the lofted barn like we're in.
Right.
And I wish they'd just come do this one, and then I wouldn't have to deal with it. But they're
but
Louisiana.
do it for what? A schoolhouse, a recording studio,
a guest studio,
a podcast studio.
Well, when you live tiny, you have to have lots of things.
That's right.
Anyway, so they, we were relying on their phone, internet, and Facebook Live is casual. It's fine.
Right.
But it was so bad, and I debated about this for about 36 hours. I finally deleted it and then did a summary. We had some good video. So I did a summary underneath the good video that they had posted in the group.
Oh, good. So people can still
see what they were doing, but then I kind of synthesized our conversation. And it was really hard for me to do that. But back to the point of, I think we're in a sophisticated of a situation that even through COVID, we expect a certain level of things. And so people are not going to sit through things that are complicated and hard to watch and hard to hear. And I mean, honestly, if I'm listening to a podcast and the audio is crap, I turn it off.
Yeah, I do as well.
So anyway, we're off of that.
So we're hoping that we're not giving crap audio right now. Now, and people can see that interview, or people can see the Scott's House at your group page.
Tiny Houses, Shed Homes.
On Facebook.
Yep.
You'll have to join to see it. If you're not a member,
and
then
I both what we're doing, screen you.
Screen? Yes, yeah, we screen heavily. Yes.
Right.
So yeah, that's Tiny Houses, Shed Homes.
And there are about 2,000 members in that group. We just started it a little while ago, so come and join. And if you're interested, peruse through it, add to the conversation. The thing about Facebook groups is it's a lot about the moderator and less about the conversation. And I'm trying to flip it, where it's more about the conversation and less about the moderator.
Right. Yeah.
But it's hard to get right now. People are kind of trying to decide what they want to do.
Most groups only have a few active people in them.
Right.
And since we've started our group, I've tried to be more active in the groups that I'm in.
Right.
Because
you see it from the other end.
It gets boring, and one person that starts to contribute can really drive a bunch of other people to do the same thing.
Right.
And it's not, nobody's going to grade you on it. Nobody's going to look at it and say, you didn't spell this word correctly.
Right.
And we don't do politics in our group. So
this is a non-political group.
Yeah, that's right. Unless it has to do with tiny houses and shed home legislation or something like that.
If you want to call that politics. Well, I guess you could call it that.
You could
laws.
Call it laws, yeah.
And that's frustrating, but we know that, and we'll talk about that more.
Yes.
Okay. So now I'm looking at the
number 2.
At the topics.
Yeah, topic number. We're already at 18 minutes. Topic number 2: life after COVID. I find this fascinating. Zach talked about this on the Tiny House Summit. Global Tiny House, whatever it's called. I'm just trying to cover all my bases there because I've had a complete brain fart and I do not remember the name.
I know there's global in there somewhere.
And Tiny House is in there somewhere. So this is terrible. We apologize.
And I thought I wrote it down. I did not.
So anyway, Zach brought up this and I thought, what a great topic to talk about. Life after COVID. Are you going to go back to your same old job?
Many people are not, because they will not exist.
They will not, right? Hitting the highway every day, driving for an hour and a half to work, an hour and a half home, sitting in traffic, eating in the car, 1 or 2 meals a day. Do you really want to go back to a cubicle
and breathing?
Breathe
in that cubicle with all the other people in the cubicles?
You would be breathing in the cubicle whether there was COVID or not, right? I know what you mean. And do you want to go back to the same old house and the same old subdivision with the same old neighbors, or do you want to do something better or different?
Well, I mean, I do think some people are very happy in that life.
I think so.
Subdivision life. We tried it. We didn't like it. We never really were drawn to that. But, I think we're seeing it now. Land in Texas is skyrocketing as people are fleeing California. We talked about this a little bit. Land in Colorado has gone ape. Because people are trying
Idaho.
And Idaho, right, because people are fleeing. Places in Texas that do not require restrictions, like to build a tiny house, to build a shed house, they are flying off the shelves, if you will. There's a realtor in Texas that is I was trying to get to come on my my group and talk about that topic and how to find things, because she has found this niche of finding people tiny home pieces of land.
Right.
I reached out to her. We'll see. You know, at the heart, again, we've talked about this is hard to do because there's so many laws and restrictions. But if you can find a way to make it work for you, but you know, not everybody wants to live an hour away from a city. Not everybody wants to do that. So we're really pushing for legislation within cities that where if you want to live tiny, and you know, most cities have like 1,800 square feet or 1,000 square feet, and housing has gotten that first rung of the housing ladder is so far up now, because if you know, even Habitat, and we'll talk a little bit about one that's coming up, Habitat homes started about $115,000.
Right.
That, to cross that six-figure mark, makes even Habitat houses really difficult for people to accomplish. And we have some Habitat news we'll talk about in a little bit. But, you know, getting on that first rung, my daughter, our daughter who's the florist, she's trying to get her first home, and she's looking at, you know, some various first-time home buyer funding, and I'm trying to help her with that, because, you know, what do? I speak house.
Speak house.
I'm like, honey, this is what I do, and I live and breathe. Let me help you.
She walks around going door,
window,
floors.
Yeah. But, you know, she is looking for something and wants to make sure she can have a place in the city. And she doesn't want to live tiny, but she wants to be able to expand and have an ADU, which we're going to talk about, or an extra place in her basement, or her mother-in-law suite, or whatever. And, you know, so we're trying to be very selective about the place that she chooses to live, because they're very constraining. And that's part of the political piece of this, is that we're, you know, and I hate the whole tent city thing, and I just think we can do so much better than that.
Well, yeah, we can, and we should.
Because that first rung is way too high and way too hard to maintain.
Right.
And
some people are doing that in different communities, and we'll talk a little bit about that today.
Yeah.
But you're right. It's very difficult for people, for first-time home buyers, to find something that's reasonable. Now.
Right. Or people who've gone through COVID and don't know what their work situation is, or can't step down. Like if you're in a $400,000 house and your job goes away, what do you do?
Right.
What do you fall to? You know, a tent in the middle of the city under a bridge?
Right.
I hope not. So we really need something in that mid-range. You know, there are $200,000 houses, but under $100,000 is really hard to find unless you're way out.
Right. And the other thing that I'd like to impress upon people with this is that this is a great time to really sit back and think about what it is you want your life to be. Do you want to be in that grind all the time, or would you like to do something on your own? Have I don't want to say minimalist lifestyle, because I think we have a very rich and full lifestyle where we are.
Yeah, we just have less crap.
We just have less crap in our life.
We have stuff because we have a barn and we have a shed and we have 2 houses. So we do have a lot of stuff because we have to maintain all of that.
Right.
But we've tried to minimize it as much as we can. And, you know, when you're living on land and you have to have goat food and you have to build things, you have to have things to do that.
Right.
So I think we're trying to be conscious of that, but I don't know that we're certainly not minimalist.
Well, no.
Especially if you look around our house after the grandkids have been in it for
the
day.
My goodness, yes.
We are not minimalist. It comes out of the storage places.
But we used to, when we were much younger, part of our entertainment, if you will, was going to the mall and buying things.
Yeah.
When IKEA opened, we went to IKEA just to buy stuff.
Right.
And we don't really do that much anymore.
No. So we try to be cognizant of that.
And we take care of the grandkids and the animals and things like that. But we just don't go out and buy things just
to entertain
ourselves.
Yeah.
And if we need to buy something, then we generally question each other, what do we need to get rid of? So Beth, when we lived in our big house in Alpharetta before we moved up here to the mountains, Beth had shoes everywhere.
I do love shoes.
And now she does this thing where if she buys a new pair of shoes, she gets rid of an old pair of shoes.
Yeah, and I hate it, but I have to do it. Because we have 33 inches of closet space.
Right.
And only a certain limited amount of places I can put my shoes within the house. And I try to keep them all together, but I can't because we are living small. But yeah, shoes. Don't get me started on that.
So,
anyway, onward.
To wrap up, it's not wrap up the whole thing, but wrap up this segment. It's a good time to think about what you want. If you really want a tiny house, if you want to explore the idea of having a tiny house or a shed home on some property, mortgage-free, living a simpler life, doing it. If you want to be in a city limits, start looking at what you need to do that.
Right.
You know, because I got to tell you that the satisfaction factor, and I guess you could call it a happiness factor, has gone off the charts for me. We're doing things we never thought we would do by working in a corporate environment, mostly because we didn't have a whole lot of time to do things. I mean, you know, I'd drive to work when we lived out in Washington State. It was almost 2 hours to my hospital and then 2 hours home every evening.
Right.
And when you spend that much time in the car, you get home and you just go, what's for supper? And then I'm going to bed.
Right. I think, and the other piece of the mortgage-free, that was why we started this whole adventure.
Right.
We wanted to be mortgage-free because we didn't want to have people controlling what we had to do in order to have a roof over our head.
Right.
And I think as we've been able to develop the concept of not having that expense, I mean, we have bills, don't get me wrong, but the level of them is so different that I think it's made a huge stress reduction in our lives.
Most definitely, yeah. Moving on, we're going to talk real quickly about the benefits of an ADU, and I've got during a pandemic, but I mean, they're beneficial to have whether there's a pandemic going on or there's good economic times going on.
Well, let's talk about what that is.
Okay, what is an ADU?
Right.
Hey, Beth, do you know what an ADU is?
Really? So an ADU is an accessory dwelling unit, and most communities offer you a way to build something. Let me back up and say many communities will within their codes, but there are many subdivisions and codes and HOAs that won't let you have this. But if you live just like in a community and you want a place for grandma or mom or dad, get them out of the nursing home where, you know, they're all getting COVID together, right?
Right.
And you want a safe place for them, or you have a veteran in your family that's struggling with homelessness, to have an ADU in your backyard to be able to give them a safe place to be, I think is really an important thing that I think is continuing to happen.
Right.
Like, more and more people are letting that, and I think COVID is going to be a big shift in that, because I think people are going to say, I don't want my mom to live in the nursing home if she can manage it by herself,
right,
or dad. And we're seeing a lot of people doing that with shed homes. They're just putting a shed in the backyard and putting grandma or whatever in the backyard. Depending on your codes, obviously.
In the shed, not just sticking her out there.
Right. But
getting her water from the bird bath.
Well, yeah. So I think having an accessory dwelling unit in your backyard, and that's one of the things we're looking for with Robin, our daughter, is we're going to make sure that she's going to be able to have that in the place where she buys.
Right.
That she'll be able, if it doesn't come with it, that she'll be able to have that, because, you know, she might need to put me in the backyard, or she might need to put you in the backyard, or a family member of some sort.
Right.
So I think it makes sense to try to plan for now. And we talk about tiny homes, and I always tell people, look, plan a way for you to add on, because your life is going to change.
Yep.
If you can have an ADU in your backyard or your side yard or whatever, I think that's really key too. And I think we're all reevaluating what that is. And the other thing that an ADU can function as, doesn't have to be, but it's similar, is having a home office in your backyard.
That's exactly right.
If you're already busting at the seams in your house, and you can put up, I mean, I think many of you know that our house has gone viral, but it's a Tuff Shed.
Right.
That was kind of, the plan was to put it in your backyard and make it a home office. But we decided to put it in our front yard. Well, actually, we're in our daughter's backyard now, but and make it our home.
Or she's in our front yard.
I don't know which. Is somebody coming in our space?
No, the mailman just dropped off several packages on the porch of the office.
I'm like, what's happening? Yeah, we because we get so many, we shop Amazon a lot, and we shop whatever. We have almost everything delivered here now, and because we do have a lofted barn, it has a front porch. So we've asked them to put all of the stuff on the front porch to keep it away from the rain and whatever. And that's what we're hearing.
Now, occasionally, we started doing that because they were leaving packages at our daughter's house on the steps. And
they were getting wet.
They were getting wet, and are not my dogs.
Right, we're taking them all over the property.
We're taking them the packages, and one day the dogs ate an entire bottle of turmeric.
Yeah.
I'm not sure what they thought it was going to be, but they enjoyed it, and every single pill was gone.
Well, their inflammation was taken care of.
That's true. Their inflammation was taken care of. So,
all right. So I think that's enough of that.
Of the ADU?
Uh-huh.
Okay. All right. So our sponsor today, and we have a real sponsor today, which is kind of nice.
We do.
Is Rhapsody in Blooms, and they specialize in elegant weddings and events across the Southeast. They do beautiful work. I mean, honestly, their flowers are phenomenal.
Well, we're prejudiced because it's our daughter.
Yes, we are. I was not going to say that.
No, I know, but hey. And I help sometimes, so that's why they're phenomenal,
yeah,
right?
Beth helps. I help occasionally. I don't do any floral design, but when Robin needs something heavy that's moved, she needs my truck or she needs me. So
yeah,
I'll go and sit. One day I even helped. I had pneumonia.
Well, we didn't know you had pneumonia, I think.
No.
So give her website.
So, yes, her website is rhapsodyinblooms.com.
And she's on Instagram and Facebook under that same handle.
That's right. So, yeah, you can find her anywhere.
Yep.
Okay. So, tiny house news. You ready for this?
Yeah, I am.
We've got a couple. I'm going to have to open up a, you're not going to be able to see it here because we're not connected that way yet, but we should do that.
We could.
Yeah, we could do that.
But then it becomes complicated.
It becomes more complicated. That's not the one I wanted to open.
Right.
So, I closed it. Oh, well. We'll talk about it anyway. So, in Jackson County, Florida, there is a new tiny homes that are going in that Habitat for Humanity is building.
Right.
And it's Habitat is looking at them. Whoa.
Don't move.
We just had a nuclear explosion. It's shining off of my hair, I'm sure.
He's referring, by the way, the folks who are listening on audio, he's referring to his hair reflecting light in the video.
A light flare. I'm not sure what that was. It's a light flare of the hair.
Well, let me back up and say the reason we're videoing it is we are using this on our YouTube channel,
right,
which will be named the same as my Facebook group, Tiny Houses Shed Homes. And I'm behind. I will confess I'm behind, but I'm trying to get like 4 or 5 videos up this week. But I just can't seem to get it all done. But, here you go.
I mean, it is what it is.
Right. But these will be up. So if
you
have friends, if you want to, catch them on YouTube, they'll be up on YouTube.
Right. But anyway, Habitat for Humanity is going to build these 4 tiny houses. They've gotten approval to do it. I think they've got the land they're going to build it on. But so far, they haven't found anybody to be in them yet. So Habitat is basically building these on spec.
Oh, well, they will.
I know. And their hope is that they'll be able to put veterans in them or seniors in them who need a place to live, but who don't want to have a large home. And this also allows Habitat to build a smaller home on a smaller lot and faster than they would normally be able to build their 2 or 3 bedroom home, because you've got to have a much larger lot to do that.
In fact, and I read 2 articles, I'm not sure if I'm mixing them up, but it feels like I remember that they're putting 4 homes on this space.
They are.
That would be for 1.
Right.
But there's a lot of rules about that, but they're, complying. And they are looking at creating what I think is amazing, which is a pocket neighborhood.
Right.
I've been following an architect his name is Ross Chapin, and he does the most beautiful neighborhoods. He doesn't do subdivisions, he does neighborhoods. And I think that's what we all crave. We all don't know any better because we've seen subdivisions. But when you see his pocket neighborhoods, they're amazing. He's got most of them out on the West Coast, but he will design one. And if I could have my wish, if I ever get to do a shed home or tiny home neighborhood, he would totally design the outside, the landscape of it, because it's amazing. They put them around gathering areas,
right,
and make courtyards, if you will, and it just makes it feel so much homier than being on a strip and somebody driving by your house.
Well, and
very different.
And that's one of the things that appeals most to me about his designs. And again, I know a little bit. Right. I know enough to be dangerous. Beth knows a lot about Ross Chapin, but
I don't think I'm a stalker.
No, you're not a stalker yet. But the community spaces is something that's really lacking these days. We used to have town squares or concerts. I mean, in many cities now, they're building those in when they build new city halls and things like that. They're building that back in.
Right, or the new outdoor malls are centered around a courtyard concept.
And one of the things,
people want a place to gather.
That's right, and that's one of the things that we've learned from COVID is that interaction with other people is incredibly important to humans.
Right.
Just like dogs interact with other dogs and cats don't interact with anybody. No. But it's incredibly important for us to have that one-on-one interaction or even group interaction. Small group interaction is very important. So to have a pocket neighborhood that has that community gathering space in it, and we've already, on paper and in our heads, Beth and I have already kind of designed the kind of neighborhoods that we would like, and mine always start off, the first thing is with the community area.
All right.
A large area with picnic tables and grills and a place to gather and watch football games or to have football games or whatever it is that the community wants to do. But it's just so important to be able to do that.
Right, and sadly our building codes and things that are crafted don't take that into account. But little by little, things are changing.
That's
right.
And
I think people like us and people that are really cognizant of what is working and what's not working are working really hard to make some of these changes in the building codes. Right. So that's cool.
So the awesome takeaway from that story is that tiny house. The Habitat for Humanity
is
now doing tiny houses.
Right, and if they don't have anybody to move in, I can promise you that I will go. Part-time, but
part-time.
I will go.
You'll be the model, and the home is the
model,
and you're the
right.
resident model.
Right.
The second news story we wanted to look at, which also involves tiny homes, is in Raywood, Texas. Now, I'm not familiar with where Raywood, Texas is. It sounds like it's in the middle of nowhere.
Well, Texas is big.
Texas is big.
So there is a lot of nowhere.
That's true. I've been in a lot of that.
I guess we
nowhere.
shouldn't say that. That could be insulting.
That could be.
You choose what you want, where you want to live.
Well,
people would say we live in the middle of nowhere.
One of my hospitals, when I ran emergency departments, was in the middle of nowhere.
Right.
It was
a long way.
It was a long way from anything.
Anyway, they're building tiny homes there.
They're building tiny homes for vets there.
It's awesome.
And a woman is allowing them to be built on her 98 acres. And
that's so amazing.
It is amazing, and I think that's the other thing that can move a lot of housing needs for veterans forward is if people that own ranches or people that own farms and they're not using 5 acres of that farm, as long as you can get to it and you can get water and electricity and things like that there. What a great thing it would be to donate some of that land to veterans that need a place to live, and then somebody come out. They're working with a high school down there for people to come out and help the kids to come out and help build these houses, and then they're developing a relationship with the vets, which I think is incredibly important.
Yeah.
I've always had. When I was a kid, my dad was a surgeon at the VA hospital in Atlanta, and I would go make rounds with him. But this was before HIPAA, and
HIPAA meaning you can't
see the patients.
Health Protection Act or whatever.
Right. It's the
Health Information Protection Act.
Yeah, Portability Act.
Whatever.
But one of the things of HIPAA is that basically it wouldn't allow physicians to take their children to meet their patients. And I got to tell you, I met a lot of really neat patients over my lifetime. Some of them scared me, to be honest with you, and I won't tell you why. But it helped me develop a relationship and an appreciation for World War I vets and World War II and Korea vets and even Vietnam vets. I had a good time with a couple of Vietnam vets.
I can't believe you met any World War I.
There
vets.
were World War I vets at the VA hospital in Atlanta when I was a kid.
Wow, that's going way back.
Yes.
I think we talked a little bit about when we went to Savannah, we found this veterans thing.
Right.
And honestly, guys, those are the tiniest tiny houses I've ever seen.
They're
like 10 by 12 and they've got a bathroom, a kitchen, and a bed.
Now,
and they may not even be 10.
Right.
They may be 8 feet deep.
Now, the ones in Texas that they're building are 200 square feet, and basically a bedroom, like a sitting area. They don't have a kitchen in them, but there's a bedroom, and they have a refrigerator and a microwave, shared thing like that. Well, the bathrooms are all common bathrooms, so I don't know if they're going to do them like campground bathrooms or what. But that's part of the thing is to have, so you're not so enclosed in your own environment. They want the vets to get out and talk to other vets and interact with people. Well, if it were my choice,
I'd put the kitchen as a shared thing, and I'd have my own private bathroom. Especially on those days that you don't feel well. But it could be a septic problem, too. I mean, septic is expensive.
Right. It may just be an issue of getting plumbing there and all that kind of fun stuff.
Septic, yeah.
So those are the two tiny house newses today. I'm looking for shed news, but there's not much shed news that's out there.
Well, we have to make it.
We do have to make it. So,
speaking of that,
tell about your workshop again.
Okay, I had to write it down because I've given it this funky name, and that's what I thought I had written. That's one of the other things I thought I had written down. But I am running a workshop for if anybody who wants to learn how to do this. I am putting every bit of information that I can. A lot of reference information, where to find land, how did you figure out your building codes in your area, where you can put a tiny house. Every piece of information I can, how to go legal with it. And I'm calling it, are you ready?
I'm ready.
The Tiny Home Sweet Home, Get Her Done, Black Friday Workshop.
Get her done.
Get her done. Because a lot of people dream about it, but then they never really make any strides toward doing it.
Well, isn't that what we do with most of our dreams?
Well, sure. So, and dreams are easy, but the execution of that is hard.
Right.
And we found that out ourselves. So if you're interested in that, just email radiotinyhouse@gmail.com and say, I want in. And we'll get you all the details.
I want in?
I want in.
Well, that's
we'll
pretty
get you all
easy.
The details.
That's good. You don't have to type any code or anything like that?
I want in.
Cool.
So it's radiotinyhouse@gmail.com.
Awesome.
And we'll get you in.
All right. So, going to mention our sponsor one more time, Rhapsody and Blooms. Again, this is full disclosure. Robin, the owner of Rhapsody and Blooms, is our florist daughter. And you can check them out at rhapsodyandblooms.com.
She is the one that does not live with us.
She does not live with us.
She lives in the big city.
Right. And you can, of course, check us out at radiotinyhouse.com. You can check us out on YouTube soon at Tiny Houses Shed Homes. Or on Facebook at Tiny Houses Shed Homes, or at our original group also, which
our
is
Facebook page,
which is My Tuff Shed Home.
And that's where we have featured the house that's gone viral.
Yes.
On My Tuff Shed Home. And last time there was like 250,000 shares on one of the bloggers' posts. So obviously people want to do this. The idea of finding your house in the Home Depot parking lot and turning it into something that's a real home is really capturing the imagination of a lot of people now. And so we're happy to provide whatever help we can to get you to do that.
Yep. That's exactly right. So
I think that's it.
I think that's it. Well, thanks for listening to Radio Tiny House. I'm Barry Smith.
I'm Beth Smith.
And we will see you next Tuesday.
Maybe morning, maybe
sometime during the day. That's right. Have a great week.